This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, in today's session, we're going to discuss about what is the iter and next function, as well as how to convert a object into a iterator object. Today, we're going to see how to convert a object into a iterator object. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do? Just I'm going to create a directory, file, new. Wait a minute. Just click on the Python script, new, and then make it as directory. I'm going to talk about iterators. In that, I'm going to create a py file, creation of iterator. Okay. See, for example, I have one list. In the list, we have a sequence of elements we have like 12, 13, 14, or it can have string as well. Okay. I will say it's a object. Okay, if I want to make that object into a iteratable form, iterable form, I want to use one function called iter. I want to use a function called iter. What the iter will do, it will convert the object into a iteratable object. Convert the object into iteratable object. This iter function going to return an iterator. The type is going into return an iterator for a given object. For a given object, it's going to give. The object can be array, or it can be a tuple, or it can be a set. Okay, it can be any object. It can be okay. It can be a set. It can be a list. It can be a tuple. It can be a set. What this iter function is going to do? It's going to return an iterator object. Okay, for a sorry, it's going to return an iterator for a given object. The object can be array, it can be a list, it can be tuple, it can be a set. And then we're going to see one more function called next function. Okay, next function we're going to see. This next function, it'll be very handy, used to iterate the elements one by one at a time. If it receives the end of the object, end of the element, it's going to throw one error called stop iteration error. Stop iteration error is going through. When it will throw, once it reaches the end of the element, if there is no further element, then we'll throw stop iteration. It's one kind of exception because it reached the entire object. Okay, after that, there's no element. There's no element in the array, or it can be tuple, it can be set. Okay, once it reaches the end of the element, it's going to throw stop iteration exception. That thing you want to keep in mind, as well as yeah, what I going to do, I going to have one list. The variable name I going to keep list underscore one. I'm going to have some list in terms of I can going to keep some vowels as well. I'm going to have some vowels A E I O, as well as I'm going to make it as U. Just reformat the file. Okay, if I want this object, okay, just print have the type of list underscore one. Let's see what type it belongs to. It belongs to your list. Now I have created a list object. For this list object, I want to convert into iterable object. Iterable object. Okay. If I want to convert the object into an iterable object, what I have to do? I have to have some variable, and then I have to use the iter function. Iter function I can use, and then I can convert the list object into iterable object. Okay, see, should have the proper indentation. If you want to know the type of this m variable, you can see what happens. The class is
List type.
the list object is converted to iterate object because it's the iterable object is going to return a iterator. Okay, this iterable object is going to give an iterator as a return type. That's why it's returning list underscore iterator. Now I have converted this object, a list object, into iterable object. This iterable object is going to return a iterator. Now what I can do, I want to access the element one by one at a time. What I can do, I can use the next function, next of m. If I give next of m, I will get a. I'll get a. You can see I'm getting a in the console because I want to use here. Now you can see I'm getting a. If I want to put next of m, what I'll get? Again, I'm putting next of m. Next of m value I'm going to put in the next of m value. I'm going to get e. Okay, and then if I put the again next of m, what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to copy and paste it here. I will get a e I o. A, E, I, O, you will get. If I put one more print statement, it's going to throw an exception. What exception it is? Stop iteration exception. Because once you move to the end of the element, there is no element actually. Okay. Once it reaches the end of the element, there is no element actually. That's why it's throwing stop iteration exception. Okay, now what are you going to do? This is how you can convert one list object into list iterator object. Okay, and then using next you can able to access the one element at a time. Once it receives the end of the element, it will throw an exception called stop iteration exception. Okay, now hold a minute. What I going to do, I'm going to have one more variable n equal to iter. Okay, I think in 2.0 we have one more iter function. In that we can pass two arguments. One is callable, another one is sentimental we can pass. In 3.0 it's not available. Okay, leave as it is. Okay, this is how we can able to access one element at a time. Now what I going to do, how to iterate a element by using the looping conditions. By using looping conditions. Now I'm going to use while loop. Let's see. I'm going to have one list, lst. In that list, it's a list actually. I'm going to have some values 11, 99, 55, 66, 77, 88, and then 67, 45, and then list can contain duplicates. List can contains duplicates. It will not hold any duplicates. Now I want to iterate the entire elements, though I want to convert my list object into iterable object. For that I'm going to use some while loop condition over here. While of loop. This loop will run infinite number of times because I given the condition as true. It's an infinite loop. Okay. Now what I have to do, I have to use a try and exception block I have to use in Python. Okay. Whichever code will throw some exception, you have to put the block of code in the try block. Whichever exception is thrown, that exception should be thrown in the try block. Okay. Now in the try block, what you can do, like what I want to do, I going to use the print statement. Before that, I want to convert this my list object into iteratable object. What I going to do, I have one variable iter list equal to, I have one built-in function iter function. In that, just pass the value lst. Okay. Now in the try block, I converted the entire object into a list of iterable object. List of, you can able to see list of iterator object. Okay, list of iterator object. It's returning this iterable object is returning the list of iterator. Now in the print statement, what I going to do? I going to use the next statement. See, you can use next like this as well. Okay, iter list dot next method also you can able to use. Okay. Okay. Now what will happen? It's going to iterate the elements one by one at a time. Once it receives the end of the list, it's going to throw what it's going to throw. It's going to throw the stop iteration error. It's going to throw. Okay. Now what you have to do? You have to handle that exception in the except block. We have to handle except I know I'm going to get the stop iteration. Just put the stop iteration as it is because I'm handling the exception. Because I already know in the runtime it's going to throw stop iteration exception. That's why handling the exception. And then what I'm going to do after handling the exception, I want to break my while loop. Break my while loop. Just give the break. Once it reaches the end of the element, it's going to throw the exception. Okay, this except block is going to handle the exception. It's going to handle the stop iteration exception. After handling the stop iteration, it's going to break the while loop. Now the while loop will be false. It won't get the next element. Once it reaches the end of the element, it won't get the next element because I'm breaking this while loop. Yeah, what we can do as of now, I'm going to comment this one because that's why it's throwing the stop iteration exception. I'm going to comment this line. Now I'm going to run my script. You can see 99, 55, 66, 77, 88, 67, 45, 45. Like this, you can able to iterate the elements using loops. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to show basic use of iter function. See, don't get confused. These are the Python 2.0 methods. Okay. Nowadays, no one is using this kind of methods. They directly will use the next method directly in Python 3.0. In Python 2.0, they will try to use hyphen hyphen. Next, they will use. Okay. You can try like this. Now, what I going to do? I going to have the same list, copy, and then paste as it is. I'm going to remove this while loop as well as break statement as well. Have the proper indentation. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, I want to convert my list object into list iterable object. List object into iteratable object. List dot like this I can able to. Okay. Copy paste. What's the length? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? I can have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is there, right? It will able to access element one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I use one more next function, what will happen? If I use, it will throw the it will throw stop iteration exception because it receives the end of the element. There is no such element afterwards. It will throw stop iteration exception. I am handling this exception. You can print some meaningful message over here. Exception stop iteration exception handled. Exception is exception. Exception means abnormal condition in runtime. Exception is handled in runtime. Okay, I'm going to run the script. You can see after this next statement, it's throwing some exception. In the exception, I'm mentioning like stop iteration exception handled in runtime. So, so we are not able to get any element. So we are not able to get element. So we are not able to get the element from the iterator object. Okay, like this, you can use some meaningful messages. Handle runtime, so we are not able to get the elements from the iterator object. That's it. Like this way, you can able to convert your object into a iterator object. If you want to convert your object into iterate object, directly you can't able to convert. First, you want to convert into iteratable, then only using next method you can convert it to iterator. But this will give a return type of iterator. By using next method only you can able to access element one by one at a time. Okay, fine. Now next to what we're going to see, we have seen iterator. Okay, we're going to see the major difference between iterable and iterator. I'm going to have one py file, iterable and iterator. Iterable versus iterator. See, everyone knows iterable is the object. Iterable is your object that one can iterate over. How we can iterate over? Using next method, we can able to iterate the elements one by one at a time. Okay. Okay. When I want to make it as an iterator, I have to use the iter function. Iter function or method we can use. Okay. Uh, as well as iterator is an object which is used to iterate over an iterable object. That's the difference I want to say. Iterator is an object which is used to iterate over an iterable object using the next method. If someone is talking about iterate object, what you have to think? You have to think about next method. If someone is saying iterable, what you have to think? You have to think about iter. Directly you can't convert the object into a iterator. First you want to convert into iterable. That iterable object will return as a iterator object. Using next method, you can able to iterate the elements one by one at a time. Directly you can't convert the object into iterator. First you want to convert into iterable. First you want to convert into iterable. Then only you can able to convert into iterator using which method? Next method. You want to make an object iterable, you have to use iter. That's the difference. You have to understand. This is an entry question actually. Okay, fine. Now the next method which returns the next item of the object. I'm not confusing you. I have one list. I have one list, and the list contains only two elements, 12, 13. The list is an object. If I want to convert to a iterable object, I always use the iter function. That also an object. If I use next method, it will going to iterate the elements one by one. That is nothing but a iterator object. Okay, which returns the next item of the object. Everything is object Python actually. Okay, and then one more thing you have to keep in mind: every iterator is also a iteratable, but not every iterable is an iterator. It's a little bit confusing you. I am saying these points to you again. Every iterator is also an iterable, but not every iterable is an iterator. For example, take one list. List is iterable. List is iterable, but list is not an iterator. Do you understand the meaning? List is iterable. I can able to convert this into iterable. M into iter of LST. But directly I cannot convert the list into iterator. Okay, I can convert the list into iterable. Directly I cannot convert into iterator. If I want to convert to iterator, what do I have to do? I have to use the next method to convert the iterable object into iterator object using next method. Okay, and then uh, okay, what I going to do? Already said to you, list is an iterable, but list is not an iterator. If you want to make iterator, you want to create an iterable object. Afterwards, using next method, you can able to access one element at a time. Okay, now I going to have one string. Remove all these things. I'm going to have one string str equal to, I'm going to have hello. Now you have to say, can I convert my string object into iterator? Is it possible? No. Directly I cannot convert my string object into iterator. First I want to convert into iterable object. After only I can able to convert iterator. If you run the script, what will happen? Directly convert into string object into iterator. What error is going to occur? Let's see. You can read this exception. Type error. String object is not an. It's not an
iterator.
iterator. What it is saying is, have one variable m equal to, have one iter. In that iter, sorry, hold a minute. Have one iter function. In that iter function, pass your string object. What the iter will do, it will first will convert into iterable object. First will convert into iterable object. first will convert into iterable object and then returns as an iterator. That's why he's saying string object is not an iterator. Whenever call this str, it's saying it's not an iterator object. If I make this iteral function, it first will make an iteral object and then it will returns iterator. Using next method, I can able to access elements. Okay. Now what I did, I converted string object into iterable object and then from the return type of iterator, I'm going to access elements one by one at a time. Okay. If I run the script, what will happen? I'm going to get, okay, hold a minute. I want to make strs m. I'm going to get h because I converted into a iterator object using iter function. Okay. If I want to get e, what I have to do? Next of
Next.
m. Like this, you have to pass e. Now you're going to say to me, this list is an this list 12 comma 13. If I pass this list, whether I can get the element 12? See, I have one list object directly passing to the next of lst. Whether I can able to get the value 12?
No.
No, because list is an object actually. It will throw that lst is not an iterator. LST list object is not an iterator. What you have to do? You want to make that object into iterable.
Iter.
That iterable object will returns an iterator. Using next method, you can able to access element one by one at a time. Okay, like this you can able to access. Just I'm going to make it n and then iter. Sorry, I choose wrong one. Iter and then lst. Just have this n. Next of how we can able to access the element 12. Okay, that's why I said to you, string is iterable, but it's not an iterator. As well as list is iterable, but it's not an iterator. Okay, if you want to make an iterator, you have to use the iter function. Fine. Everything's fine now. Now what I going to use to what I can do? Okay, I'm going to have one more example for you. I'm going to have one for loop. I'm going to have make it mute. I'm going to have one for loop. See, if you are using any kind of loops, no need to use no need to use any iter function or next function. No need to use this. For loop will internally will convert that object into a iterable object. Afterwards that iterable object will return as an iterator. Everything will happen in the for loop itself. No need to use this next statement. Just I going to print c without able to see. Sorry, hold a minute. What I will do for understanding, I'll use a print statement. Okay, you have to use single quotes or double quotes. You can see I can able to get the 12 and 13. Okay, directly you can give the list as well. 12, 13, 45, 67. You can see 12, 30, 45, 67. You might have a doubt, though it's a list object, how it's converting into a iterable object afterwards, how it's returning as an iterator. Okay, this for loop will take care internally. It will convert this list into a iterable object. That iterable object will return as an iterator. Everything will happen in the for loop internally. Nothing to worry about it. Okay, but if you are making the iterable object, the performance will be really good when compared to this for loop. Okay, this iterable option will give some good performance. If you are reading from a huge list, okay, this what the iterable object will do, it will take the entire list. For the entire list, it will allocate a memory. From the memory, if you are trying to iterate, it will be very faster. It will be very faster. But in for loop, what will happen, it will take the first 12, and then for this 12 you allocate memory. After 13 you allocate memory. After 40 you allocate the memory. Okay, it's like a kind of lazy evaluation. It's kind of lazy evaluation. The for loop will take care of the iteral object as well as the next function. Everything will happen internally, nothing to worry about it. Okay, fine. Now what I have going to have, I'm going to have one more example. In that for loop, I'm going to have one list 34. Inside I have one more nested list 45 comma 78 comma, and then I going to have one more tuple as well. Tuple means you have to use a normal brackets 45 comma 89 tuple, and then I going to have one more dictionary as well. In dictionary I going to give the key as key name itself, key underscore one, and then value I going to have hello. Okay, and then I have one nested list, and then I have one tuple, one dictionary, and then I have to have one more string as well. The string is welcome, and then I going to have one more float values 4.56. And look at here, and then I have one number, and then one nested list, one tuple, one dictionary, string, and floating values inside the one of the list.
Okay.
Okay,
For
now what I going to do, I going to write one function. Look at here, function. What you have to do, you have to use a def keyword, and then I am going to have I am going to write one function. That function is going to check that object is iterable or not. That object is iterable or not, it's going to check. That's what I'm going to write some function. For your understanding, I can give some command lines. Function to check object is iterable or not. Okay, 4478 is iterable, 34 is not iterable, 4589 is iterable. Okay, welcome is not iterable, 4.56 is not iterable. because see, 40, 78 is the sequence of elements I can able to see. Tuple I can able to see a sequence of elements, but here I can see only one string. It's not iterable.
Single. Okay.
It's a single word actually. Okay, you can say string, double quotes means string. It's not iterable. This also not iterable actually. 34 also it's not iterable. Okay. Now for this I going to write some function. What I going to do? I going to have some iter object. I going to give the name. Method name as iter object. In that I going to pass some arguments. Put args. You can give any name. Okay. Args one. In that what I going to do? I going to use one try block over here. If any of the code getting some exception, the try block will inform to the except block. Except block will handle the exception. Okay, whichever code this code will throw runtime error while running, just put in the try block. Okay, that whatever code in the try block, if it throw any exception, the except block will handle all those kind of exceptions. Now what I going to do? I'm going to use the iter function. In that iter function, I'm going to pass some arguments. The arguments I want to pass args1. Okay, I'm going to do only one thing. If it is iterable object, just return true. Return true. If I get exception, except block, you have to put sorry except block. Except block. What I going to do? If I get some type errors. Yeah, see, if there is no exception, it's going to return true. If it's iterable object, it's going to return true. If it's not iterable object, it's going to throw some exception because this string is not iterable. Definitely, it's going to throw an exception. This 4 point is float value. Actually, it's not iterable. It's going to throw some exception. 34 is not also not iterable. It's going to throw some exception. Once it throws some exception, the exception will be a type error actually. Type error. What I going to do? I going to return false. If it is iterable object, it's going to return true. If it's not iterable, it's going to return false. That's it. Okay. What I going to do? I going to reformat the file as well as I going to give some meaningful message using string formatting. Comma. Iterable. And then just to formatting. What's the method name? Iter object and then pass this I. This I will be the argument actually. First we'll get 34. The 34 go to this method and then check 34 is iterable or not. If it is iterable, it's going to return true. Otherwise, it's going to return false. That's what you're going to see. Now you see 34 is okay. I given some wrong message over here. Yeah, 34 is iterable. Okay, I can do one thing. I can give some question mark over here. Yeah, 34 is iterable. It's giving false. 40 because 78 is iterable. Question mark. It's giving true. And then it's a tuple actually. It's iterable. Yeah, it's true. And then key and value dictionary is there.
Dictionary.
Actually, it's also be iterable. And then welcome. Why it's throwing welcome is iterable? Wait a minute. Welcome is iterable.
Single letter.
Yeah. Can able to handle character by character, right? Welcome is iterable. True. And 4.56 is not iterable. 4.6 is not iterable because in iter function what it will do, it will convert the entire object into iterable object, and then if you give welcome, what will happen? W will come. If I give next, W will come. If I give one more next, E will come. Okay, this also will be iterable actually. It's going to be a true. Okay, I wrongly said to you, welcome is also a iterable. This 4.56, 34 is not iterable. It's giving the false value. If you have any questions, you can ask now. Okay, I'm going for one more function called range function. I'm going to say how the range function works internally, and then I'm going to show some performance in the range function. Before that, I'll give 2 minutes of time. In this method, if you have any doubts, you can ask. You already know if directly you can't convert the list into iterator. First, you want to convert into iterable. That iterable object returns an iterator. Using next, I can able to access the elements one by one at a time. Once it reaches the end of this element, it's going to throw stop exception. Stop, sorry, what exception it is? Stop raise exception, right? Stop exception. What exception name is? Stop
Iterate.
stop iteration exception. Sorry, stop iteration exception is going to through. Okay, and then if you want to check whether this number integer is iterable or not, it's not iterable, as well as this list is iterable, as well as tuple is iterable, as well as dictionary is iterable, as well as welcome also iterable, because once it pass this string object into iter function, it's going to take character by character. We can able to iterate this in terms of character by characters, and then 4.5 is not iterable. Okay, now next we're going to see range function. I'm going to have one py file. In that, we're going to see the range function. We're going to see the performance of this range function. Okay. Okay. See, simple terms I'm going to say the range function is going to give a range of values. For example, I'm going to use a for loop. For I'm going to have one iterable variable. I'm saying it's not a variable, it's actually an iterable variable. M is iterable variable. I'm going to give some range of values. 1 comma 1000 print of m. Okay, in this for loop, everything will happen internally. It will create a iterable object. After that, convert to that iterable object returns an iterator. Everything happen internally. That's why I'm calling this m as iterable variable. Iterable variable. Just print these values. You can get all the ranges of values over here from 1 to 999. Okay. Now we're going to benchmark this performance. We're going to compare with one more function. The function name is range versus x range. Range versus x range function we're going to compare. See, if you are using a Python 2 version, you have x range function. If you are start using a Python 3 version, you can go for range function you can use. If you are using less than 3.0, you can go for x range. Okay. In Python 3.0 version, x range is not available. X range is not available. You have to keep in mind the range function is going to give you a range of values. Going to give you a range of values. As well as one more point I have to say, range function is nothing but a lazy evaluation. Lazy evaluation. We're going to discuss. Okay. Yeah. Now, I already said to you, the range function is going to give you a range object. X range function returns an generator object. X range function is going to return a generator object. Okay, as well as mostly this X range only used for looping only. You can use to display the numbers only for looping, as well as sorry, I mistakenly said to you. What I mistakenly said to you is X range is lazy evaluation. X range is lazy evaluation, lazy evaluation. Okay, why I is saying it's lazy evaluation? Okay, I have one numbers. The range is 1 to 1000. I have one method, generate numbers, and then I have to pass start value and sorry, I want to have one start value as well as stop value. Okay, and then it's going to generate start start to stop values. Okay, and then I'm going to return some actually. Instead of return, I'm going to use yield. Okay, now I'm going to discuss about the lazy evaluation. I need the number. If I need the number from 1000 I need number 95. Okay, it won't create a range of values. It won't create a range of values. Okay, what it will do, 1 to 95 it will create. Okay, I will take some other example. Hold a minute, yeah.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, now what we're going to see, we're going to see the performance of range as well as X-range version. Range version, our range function you can use only in 3.0. If you want to use X-range, you can use in Python 2.0 version. Okay, now what I going to do, I going to get a range of values. For this, have one variable x equal to range. I want to generate 1 to 1000. 1 to 1000. I want to see the return type of this range. Print, see the type. It is going to give you a list. It's going to give the wait. Okay, wait a minute. 1 to 99. Okay, it's giving the list of values. I will comment these things. Okay, the return type will be range. We're getting the return type will be range. It's getting a range for me. Small x. Okay, I want to get it's getting list. Okay, the return type for this range will be a actually it's going to list only. Okay, it's going to give the range of values. Okay, now we're going to see the performance of this range function. What I going to do, first I show the type for you. The type will be a range. Now next I going to show the memory. Okay, the variable storing the range created by the range function takes more memory when compared to the X range function. Okay, If you want to see the how much memory it took by range, what you can do, you can import a module called system module. Import sys module. In that sys module, what you can do, you can print how much memory took by a range function. Okay, I can use a meaningful message. The size allocated using range function is print sys, because I imported the module system module sys module, and then I'm going to get the size of x. Actually, it's going to print how much of memory occupied for this generating the 1 to 1000 values. Okay, the memory it took is 48 KB. Okay, when compared to X range, this range will take more memory. Actually, will takes more memory. If you want to know how much memory it took, what you can do, you can put sys dot get size of X you can pass. Otherwise, you can pass some range of values as well. 1,40. What is 1,40? What you can do? You can see how much memory is allocated. You can see it can able to take only 48 KB. Okay, fine. Next one is we're going to see operation usage. You're going to see. Okay, range function is going to return as a list. Actually, it's going to return a list. Okay, in the range function, you can apply the slicing operation. You can apply the slicing operation, but in X range you can't apply the slicing. Okay, now I'm going to apply the slicing operation over here for my range function. Just print take X value, and then I need values from 10 20, 10 to 20. See, I'll get the values from 11 to 21. I already said to you, you have to make the stop index as n minus 1. You will get 11 to 20 values will get. Okay, if you want to if you iterate using for loop, you can get the range of values from this range function. Okay, in range you can apply slicing, but in X range you can't able to apply the slicing function. Okay, now come to the speed. Which one will perform very faster, X range or range? Okay, X range evaluates the generator object. Actually, okay, evaluates the generator object as well as containing the values. For example, if I need 500 values, means it's going to generate 1 to 500 in a single shot. Okay, that's why the performance is very faster when compared to the range function. When compared to the range function, X range performance is double the times when compared to the range function. In Python 2, you can apply the X range function, but in 3.0, you can apply only the range functions. As well as I can say 3 to 4 differences. The range function returns a list of integer. The X range function returns a generator object. Performance wise, I can say in terms of speed, I'm saying in terms of speed, X range is very faster when compared to the range function. And then the execution speed is very slower in range when compared to X range function. As well as the range function takes more memory. The entire list will be stored in the memory. That's why it's taking more memory. Okay, the X range will keep only one element at a time in memory. That's why it's taking less memory. But in range, it's going to take all the elements in memory. That's why it's taking more memory in the range function. as well as in range you can perform all kind of arithmetic operations, because it's going to return as a list. Okay, you can able to perform all kind of addition, subtraction, any kind of operation, arithmetic operations you can do in the range function. Okay, if we in X range you can't do any arithmetic operations because it's going to return as a generator object. It's going to return a generator object. Don't get confused. Next class we're going to talk about the generator object. This class only I'm going to discuss about the iterator object. Next class we're going to discuss about the generator object. As well as last point is will be in range. We can use only in Python 3.0 version. X range can use only in the Python 2.0 version, 2.x version. You can use. These are the comparison of a range and X range function. Okay, and then one more example I want to show to you. In range, I'm going to have one list 1 to 1000. It's going to return like a list. What it happens, it's going to store every 1000, all 1000 numbers in the memory. But in X range, what it's going to do, it's going to keep only one element at a time in memory. That's why when compared to range, X range is performance somewhat better. It's taking very less memory, as well as it's a lazy evaluation. Lazy evaluation means Lazy evaluation can it won't hold the entire values. Only one element can be held in the memory. Okay, if someone requesting for 500, okay, then it's going to keep one memory, two in memory, like it's going to keep the elements one by one at a time in memory. Okay, as well as the performance is really good. If you take X range perform not that much good because it take more memory, and performance wise it's not good actually. Okay, I'm stopping the session as of now.